Have you ever been scrolling through Reddit late at night, thinking you're safe and sound, only to stumble upon a story that makes the hair on your arms stand up? Stories that feel a little too real, a little too close to home. Well, today we're diving deep into the creepiest corners of the internet to bring you 3 horror stories that users swear actually happened to them. These aren't just fiction, they're personal accounts that will make you question every shadow and every creak in the floor. So, turn down the lights, get comfortable, and prepare yourself. You might want to lock your doors for this one. Our first story comes from a user who worked as a 911 dispatcher. We all know their job is stressful, dealing with life or death situations every single day. But some calls stick with you forever. This particular dispatcher, let's call him Mark, received a call one night from a young boy, maybe 7 or 8 years old. The line was staticky, but he could hear the boy whispering, "He's in my room." Mark tried to keep him calm, asking the usual questions, "What's your name? Where do you live?" The boy, whose name was Sam, was terrified. He said a man was standing in the corner of his bedroom, just watching him. Mark immediately dispatched officers to the address Sam provided. He stayed on the line with the boy, trying to get a description of the man. Sam said he was very tall and skinny, wearing a strange, old-fashioned hat. He wasn't moving, just standing there. Mark told Sam to stay quiet and hide under his blankets. He could hear the boy's ragged, frightened breaths. The minutes felt like hours. Mark kept reassuring him, "The police are almost there, Sam. Just stay hidden." Suddenly, Sam let out a sharp gasp. "He's looking at me," he whispered, his voice trembling. "He knows you're on the phone." A chill went down Mark's spine. How could the man know? The boy hadn't spoken above a whisper. Then, the line got even weirder. A new sound emerged from the background. It was a low, guttural humming, almost like a distorted lullaby. It was deep and unnatural. Sam started crying softly. "He's coming closer. He's walking so weird." Mark urged the officers to hurry. He asked Sam what he meant by walking weird. Sam replied, "His legs, they bend the wrong way." At that moment, Mark heard the police sirens in the background of the call. "They're here, Sam. They're right outside," he said, relieved. But the humming on the line grew louder, more menacing. Sam suddenly screamed, a raw, piercing sound of pure terror. Then, a deep, raspy voice, a voice that was not a child's, spoke directly into the phone. It said one sentence, "The boy is gone." And the line went dead. When the officers breached the door, they found Sam's room empty. The window was locked from the inside, and there were no signs of a break-in. The only thing out of place was a single, old-fashioned top hat sitting in the corner of the room. Sam was never seen again. The case went cold, but Mark never forgot that call. He quit his job a few months later, haunted by the boy's scream and that deep, raspy voice. He says that sometimes, late at night, when it's too quiet, he can still hear that strange, distorted humming. Ready for the next one? This story comes from a user who was house-sitting for a wealthy family in a remote, wooded area. The house was a massive, modern mansion, all glass and steel, surrounded by miles of dense forest. The user, we'll call her Claire, was excited for a quiet week of reading and relaxing. The family had left a long list of instructions, but one stood out: do not go into the basement. The door is locked for a reason. Just ignore any noises you might hear from down there. Claire thought it was strange, probably just faulty plumbing or an old furnace. She shrugged it off. The first few days were peaceful. Claire enjoyed the luxury, swimming in the indoor pool and watching movies on the giant home theater screen. But on the third night, she heard it. A faint scratching sound coming from below the living room floor. It sounded like fingernails on a wooden door. She remembered the family's warning and tried to ignore it, turning up the volume on the TV. But the scratching grew louder, more frantic. It was accompanied by a soft thudding, a rhythmic bang, bang. It sounded like someone was desperately trying to get out. Claire's heart started pounding. She muted the TV and listened. The sounds were definitely coming from the basement. She crept over to the basement door, her hand trembling as she reached for the handle. It was locked, just as the family had said. She pressed her ear against the cold wood. The scratching stopped. For a moment, there was silence. Then, a soft, female voice whispered from the other side, right next to her ear. "Let me out, please. He locked me in here." Claire jumped back, her blood running cold. She grabbed her phone and dialed 911, but there was no signal. The house was too remote. Panic set in. The voice from the basement started pleading, getting more and more desperate. "Please, I'm so thirsty. He's going to come back soon. You have to let me out." Claire was torn. Was this a prank? Or was there really a woman trapped down there? The voice sounded so real, so full of fear. She remembered seeing a set of keys on the kitchen counter, one of which was a strange, old-fashioned skeleton key. Her conscience got the better of her. She couldn't just leave someone to suffer. She grabbed the keys, found the one that fit the lock, and with a shaky hand, turned it. The lock clicked open. She slowly pulled the heavy door inward, revealing a flight of steep, dark stairs. A musty, damp smell wafted up. "Hello," she called out, her voice barely a whisper. There was no answer. The scratching, the thudding, the pleading voice all gone. There was only an unnerving silence. As her eyes adjusted to the darkness, she saw something at the bottom of the stairs. It wasn't a person. It was an old, large speaker connected to a tape recorder. On the floor next to it was a note. It read, "Now you're the bait." And from behind her, in the now open doorway, she heard the front door of the house click shut and lock. She was no longer the house sitter. She was the one in the trap. Our final story for tonight is a bit different. It's shorter, but it has the kind of thing that will stick in your mind long after you've heard it. It was posted by a young woman who had just moved into her first apartment alone. She was living on the ground floor of a small, quiet building. One evening, she was getting ready for bed when she heard a tapping on her window. It was late, past midnight. She peeked through her blinds and saw a man standing on the sidewalk, staring at her window. He wasn't doing anything threatening, just standing there, with a wide, unnerving smile on his face. She felt a knot of fear in her stomach. She quickly closed the blinds and made sure her doors were locked. The tapping continued, a steady, rhythmic tap, tap, tap. She tried to ignore it, crawling into bed and pulling the covers over her head. But the sound was persistent. After about 10 minutes, it finally stopped. She waited, holding her breath, listening for any other sound. Nothing. Just the hum of the refrigerator. She slowly started to relax, thinking maybe he had finally left. She started to drift off to sleep. And then she heard it again. But this time, it wasn't coming from the window. The tapping sound was coming from inside her apartment. It was coming from her closet. She froze, every muscle in her body tensing up. The man she saw outside was now inside. The story ends there. The user never posted an update. The comments section is just a long list of people asking if she's okay, with no reply. It's the not knowing that's the truly terrifying part. What happened after she heard that tap from the closet? We can only imagine. And that's all the time we have for today. 3 stories that remind us that sometimes the most terrifying monsters are the real people we might encounter. The world can be a scary place, and these Redditors unfortunately found that out firsthand. Which story creeped you out the most? Let me know in the comments below. Stay safe out there, always trust your instincts, and maybe think twice before scrolling through Reddit alone in the dark. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed these chilling tales, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more spooky content. See you next time.